And if it's a primary residence, you can sell it for up to $250,000 of gain per person, up to 2 people if you're married. So it would be $500,000 if you're married with no tax on the gain. So you have up to $500,000 that you could sell tax-free if it's a primary residence. That doesn't work for rental real estate. But we look at the tax advantages being numerous and more substantial with real estate versus a retirement plan. Money can be complicated. Let a nerd help you. We're here to demystify the complex nature of money by getting you answers from financial nerds and whiz kids. Welcome to Ask the Money Nerds, a weekly segment of the Wealth Labs podcast where we answer your most pressing money questions. Is there a real tax advantage to funding your 401k or retirement plan? Does it make sense to keep contributing with the economy in the shape it is right now? What if you actually have other options or other places that you might be having as an alternative to allocate your cash? Today's question is about comparing real estate to retirement plans. What are the pros and cons, and what makes more sense? All right, Stelba.
Let's do this. I
used to call you Chief of Staff Stolba. That was just Stelba. And I actually call you Stolva.
Stolva, yeah.
Just to throw people out. They can't find you, you know.
I think it's fun when we give each other nicknames. I'm not very great.
I like when you call me Gunderson. It's funny.
Just by
Nobody
your last
calls
name.
me Gunderson. Just you.
Yeah, that just is my lack of creativity around a nickname, so I just use your last name. No. Question, since we're going to talk a little bit about retirement today.
Yeah, retirement sucks.
How would you say retirement sucks a lot, and I get behind that.
Why do I use sucks so much? Budgeting sucks. Retirement sucks. Like, look, my dad was a coal miner.
401k sucks.
Retirement was a good idea. He was a coal miner. You should retire from that.
Yeah.
But what if you created a life you didn't want to retire from?
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be lovely?
What if you didn't remove value creation from your equation? Mm-hmm. What if it was still about serving others and solving problems and keeping a sharp mind even into your later age? I mean, my son just did stand-up making fun of me. He says, I don't think people are old other than my dad. I'm like, well, guess who pays the bills around here, son? And we're just going to turn them off in your room. And you'll be like, oh, it's super cold this winter. That's fine everywhere else, man. So yeah, I mean, retirement is this notion that if we were in the industrial age, trading time for money, doing very physically demanding jobs and exhausting ourselves, that sure, you want to retire from that. But what if you could use your brain instead of your brawn? What if you could find something that leveraged your skill sets in a way that you got paid and you got to enjoy the majority of that? It's not that it's always going to be perfect and cozy and comfy, but like I have things that I wouldn't, like I'm not getting paid for some of the things I do right now because they're just so exciting and it's not the time because of COVID to actually release them. But it's just part of the enjoyment of life. And I see the big picture and where it's going. And I don't want to stop doing that. It's the things that I love the most, you know? Right. And I want the world to have that. It doesn't mean that we're passionate and our passion always pays off. Sometimes our passion can be misleading because it's merely a hobby. Mm-hmm. No one's going to pay me to shoot my bow, right? Stoba, I don't think people are going to pay me to make them coffee. Maybe, but probably not the amount of money that I'm used to earning.
That's an expensive
So it's fine to have hobbies, but if we can find some purpose, if we could find some value, if we could find a vision that's compelling enough that we didn't want to retire from that, that's such a compelling way to live life. Mm-hmm. So I want to redefine retirement. I got a buddy, Derek Coburn, that's writing a book on how to like redefine retirement. So nice. I like that that's getting out there into the world and, you know, like, I just think there's a lot of possibility when we take people that are losing 30 years of their productive years. How many times, like when I was in Italy, could I have a 4-hour lunch before I'm like, yeah, it'd be cool to write something or it'd be cool to record a podcast. Like there's a place for all of that, but it doesn't have to be separated and segmented. It could be part of your entire life where you're taking these mini retreats and retirements and you're coming back into some work that you enjoy. And that takes work to set up that type of life. That's why economic independence is vital. Enough recurring revenue from your assets to cover your basic expenses so you have freedom to make those choices versus the one day someday and then you're too old. Like hell, I'm 42 and I'm starting to have a few issues, so I'm like, damn, what if I wait till I'm 82? Well, you know what it is. So
we'll just leave it at that. I like the premise of taking mini retirements along the way, not just waiting for a big vacation in June or retirement when you're 50 or 65, whenever that happens for you, or maybe 80, depending on.
Is it hard to manage my schedule with as many mini retirements as I take along the way?
You are very good at taking
my boys to a wilderness program.
But that's all meaningful and good, you know.
Just went hunting.
Yeah.
Which now people are going to be angry that I used the word hunting.
Yeah, I think, well.
My buddy I went with, Ben, man, he posted a picture and got 300 comments, and like 30 of them were death threats to his family and his kids.
Oh, no.
I was like, whoa. I don't post about that stuff.
Just on YouTube now. That idea of like, let's build a life that we don't want to escape from. It does take intention. It does take work. It takes creativity. And even if you're not
being uncomfortable, it requires turbulence. It requires stretching and growth. And there's fear that comes along with it. There's frustration that happens. And if we try to avoid that, we lose our life. Like you're powerful enough to face it.
Yeah, go through.
I'm just telling you right now, you're powerful enough to face it, Stolba.
I take it.
I mean, you work with me, you got to be fairly powerful to face it.
I got some resilience in me. Yeah, that's great. Right. I think just one simple way, I'll share an example that I did. Even if you're not financially independent and you can't plan like large trips at this point in your life, which I know a lot of people are there. There's this book that I've really liked. It's called The Artist Way.
Killing Sacred Cows? Oh, I love that book.
I love that book too. But this one is...
Oh, Billionaire's Method? Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
This one's The
5-day
Artist
weekend?
Way. Listen to me.
I have The Artist Way.
It's very
on my
powerful.
shelf in my bedroom.
Pick up the book,
It's
The
better
Artist
if you
Way.
read it, though, than just buy it. It looked cool when it's sitting there.
And one of the things that she says is take yourself out on an artist date once a week. So it's hard to do that now. But
Did you see what's in my calendar now?
No.
Artist time. Did you see I put artist time in there?
I did notice that. I did notice that. But that's something that I started doing where, okay, I'm going to ride the scooters to my favorite coffee shop and buy the really expensive drink that I normally think is overpriced. Or I'm going to go to a
You like it more than my coffee shop?
I like yours more because it's free.
The espresso machine right there.
But just like I bought a slack line, you know.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's a big rope you tie between trees and you try to walk across it.
Oh.
You know, like people do this across the Grand
So I should
Canyon.
just expect there's times you're like, hey, I can't work. My collarbone's broken. I'm prepared.
I got pretty good on it the last time. But there are
Keep
little
it that
ways.
far off the ground, Stelba.
Just a couple of inches. But the artist date was a way that I made an obligation to myself when big trips weren't
And I
on
can't
the calendar.
paint, but I still consider myself an artist.
Yeah, we have
writing,
to broaden our definition of artist.
Yeah,
it's
like
not just about
going fishing. It could be,
dancing, learning to sing, play an instrument, foosball.
Yeah. Playing my guitar.
Okay.
Smoking my tobacco pipe. That's very artistry.
I don't know.
Douchey,
about that
maybe.
one.
I don't know which one it is. Yeah.
Let's get to Jared's question because
we're doing a podcast today.
The reason why
I thought
we're
we were
not
just having a
chit-chatting
conversation
about our lives today. So the reason why we started with retirement was because in Jared's question he mentions a 401k, and that's a lot of people's plan to get to retirement. But here's what Jared wants to ask us. He says, my company ExxonMobil just announced they'd been suspending the company match starting October 2020. Considering the pathetic performance of ExxonMobil stock over the last decade or so, I'm trying to understand the value of continuing to put my money into my 401k. I have 5 rental properties now that have equity greater than the value of my 401k.
Sweet.
And the cash flow... sorry, my computer turned off. There we go.
That's a new computer I got you that you never use. I like it.
I need to set the timer so the screen doesn't go off.
Okay.
Should I discontinue my contribution and redirect the $1,500 a month towards either paying those rentals off or buying new properties, or paying off my primary residence?
Okay, so let's talk about tax advantages of real estate versus retirement plans, because people think retirement plans are tax advantage, but they're tax deferred.
That's a big myth.
So yes, you pay less tax this year, but you still have to pay the tax when you take it out. So some people are like, well, yeah, but that grows to more money. Well, that's true. It would grow to more money,
but taxes are going to be higher.
Taxes might be higher. And look, if you have a Roth IRA versus a traditional, that Roth, even though you put less money in it because it's after tax, by the time you pull the money out of the 401k, it ends up being the same if taxes remain level. So if taxes go down, the 401k would actually be better than the Roth IRA, right? If taxes go up, the Roth would be better than the 401k. Yeah. And if taxes stay the same, it makes no difference after you spend the money because one's tax-free on the back end, one's pre-tax and taxable on the back end. So that same money you didn't pay the government today, right? If you're in a 401k, becomes the chunk that comes out when you go to spend the money that didn't have to come out of the Roth. So not a lot of people can understand that, but let's look at retirement plans versus real estate. So real estate, you get appreciation on that property if it grows, and that appreciation isn't going to have taxes other than potential increase in your property tax. Okay. You get to depreciate real estate, especially if it's commercial property. There's something called cost segregation that allows you to accelerate depreciation, which is a tax formula that lets you to get deductions now. And if you just sell that outright, you'd have to pay the tax when you sell it outright, but you get these tax advantages along the way. So that's another piece. And if you spend more than 750 hours a year in real estate, you get to be a real estate professional, which gives you unlimited amounts that you could write that off versus some of the limitations with alternative minimum tax or, just standard real estate depreciation. So you get depreciation. And when you sell real estate, it's a capital gain. Capital gain can be 0, 15, or 20%, where when we look at, ordinary income, it can be as high as 37.5%. So this is the problem. If you put money in a retirement plan, you defer the tax and you still have to pay it when you pull it out, you're going to have to pay it at ordinary income, where this real estate would be capital gains, which for most people is going to be a lot lower.
Yeah.
There's also the advantage with real estate that you could borrow your equity, and when you have a loan, there's no tax to access that money because it's with a loan instead of a sale or a transaction. You also have the fact that with real estate, you can 1031 and roll it to another property. That's a like-kind exchange, and there would be no tax upon that sale.
Okay.
And if it's a primary residence, you can sell it for up to $250,000 of gain per person, up to 2 people if you're married. So it would be $500,000 if you're married with no tax on the gain. So you have up to $500,000 that you could sell tax-free if it's a primary residence. That doesn't work for rental real estate. But we look at the tax advantages being numerous and more substantial with real estate versus a retirement plan, in my mind. And here's the thing. When you're older, as my kids would say that I am, and then let's say I have a $150,000 in a retirement plan and I'm contributing $5,000 a year. Most of the fuel of that retirement plan over the next 10 years is from the $150,000 that's already in there. The $5,000 I put in per year is getting less and less time to grow each year that I deposit it.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of leverage.
Right.
But check this out. What if I bought a property? Right? And it's going to be small if I'm saying $5,000 a year, but what if I bought a property for $5,000 a year? Well, I'm now getting the full value of the property to appreciate because I have a loan. So I'm getting leverage. And even if it's only, let's say that property is $75,000, I'm getting 3% of $75,000. So, or let's just say this isn't real reality, but let's say it's 10%. So I get, 10% appreciation one year. That's now $7,500 of appreciation. But if I contribute $5,000 to a retirement plan and get 10%, it's only $500.
Yeah, that's a great example.
So that's an example of leverage. But here's what I want to warn people about. A lot of people over leverage real estate. They don't have a tenant for a while, and now they're sucking wind. They're losing cash flow, or they have to take care of some unexpected surprise. A water heater goes out, or a pipe bursts in the winter, and so there's these additional costs that sometimes people don't account for.
Yeah.
So it is going to be a lot more active with real estate than maybe it is with the retirement plan. You have more control, you have more tax advantages, you have a little bit more influence, but you also have more risk for a lot of people because now you have a loan if you didn't pay cash for it, and if you have to fund that loan, during times that there's turnover with tenants or issues, that could really be detrimental and lead to bankruptcy in the worst case scenario. So I'm kind of trying to give both sides here. I'm obviously not a huge fan of retirement plans. I'm an advocate for the right person to do real estate. I don't love real estate.
Yeah.
When I did real estate,
seems like a lot.
it was no fun. I remember on Halloween, we're getting phone calls and we're like, oh God, this is, I remember being in Tucson and I'm closing on this property, and the whole time I'm on vacation, I'm on the phone, and I'm not on the phone with people that we're having fun with and laughing about or helping them with their life. I'm on the phone with someone that we're dealing with legalese and details and timelines and banks and trust companies. And I got to go get a notary while I'm on vacation. You know what I'm saying? It could be a little bit of a nuisance, but if that's what your business is, that's what your business is. So now you kind of know the difference between the two. And the match can be a problem for people. Yeah, the match of a retirement plan can be a problem because it could incentivize you to put money in a plan that you have little control over, no cash flow from, higher taxes in the future, a bunch of fees that might be ruining your performance, and you might have other things that you could use that money for that is better, or paying off a 20% interest rate credit card, or building up your liquidity, or acquiring a business, or investing in your education. I have a bit of an argument there for us.
You've thought about this a little bit.
Maybe.
Now, so the match, I've heard you say, it's not free money. A lot of people say well, it's free money. Why wouldn't I do that? Well,
they'll say it's 100% return.
Yeah.
But once again, if you have 150 grand in there and you put 5,000 in and they match you 5,000, they're only matching your contribution, not the existing amount of money. So to get a true 100% rate of return, they'd have to match everything every year.
Yeah.
It's only, so I've seen and analyzed, and we'll bring on our money nerd, Tim. Okay.
Yeah.
And he'll show that you might get a 7% return without the match over 10 years, you know, but with the match, it might only move it to 8.5 or 8.9% because most of that money is fueled by the existing dollars already there, not by the new contribution.
It's not like it's doubling your money.
And there might be 5 years before you're fully vested. So, you know, and it might be that there's a lot of strings attached with you, if that vesting, that you have to be in a job that you don't like. And so you are your greatest asset, not a stock, not a bond, not a match, not a piece of real estate. So if that prevents you from investing in yourself and improving your cash flow or paying off high interest rate loans or taking care of really critical things that help you to be more productive, then that match is a deterrent. And so that notion of free money, it's not free because it comes with major strings attached. You can't get to till 59.5. The market could go down after you put it in there and you have less than what you put in. So yeah. There you go.
Yes.
There's my rants for today.
Want to master your money? Want to figure out the things that you could do to improve your finances? Click here and check out more videos like this on Money Matters.